What is up, everybody? My name is Rafi, and I am a professional classical guitarist. In the last two videos, we looked at the first two parts of Money Game by REN, and now there's three parts, so today we are taking a look at part 3. It was interesting to see both the similarities and differences between the first two parts. They were totally different songs, yet there were a ton of things linking them together, so I'm interested to see what he does now in this one with part 3, so let's take a look. Okay, before we even get started, here it is. It's the piano. I've heard since the first video we did that people were saying in the comments about him not just doing guitar stuff, but him playing piano too. So all right, let's see what we got. I'm excited for this. I'm like particularly excited for this one. Okay, so we got the character from the first one. We got the person with the bag over their head. No eyes on it. I don't know, maybe they'll get drawn on later. All right, you got to go back for a second. So this was very classical inspired for sure. For sure. The harmony and also I guess you could say maybe the texture that he's using. He starts out just with these big chords, and then he starts out with these big chords, and then he does these sweeping arpeggios, which are just essentially chords where you break up the notes, you break up the chords into individual notes. And so he's running up and down the keyboard, playing individual notes of the chord one at a time. And then he does that little thing. He does this little, he plays these notes chromatically. That's like playing every single note as close as you can together. Every single note in a row on the piano in octaves. It definitely has this, everything about it, the chord progression, the style of it, everything just screams classical to me. And he's got a suit on. Except it looks like the suit has a tie. But okay. And then you get into a riff. This is starting to not sound. This is starting to sound more. I guess you could maybe say sort of pop-like. But now we're about to get. Yeah, it sounds like this repeating bass thing. We're about to get a riff here. Okay, Money Game Part 3. We got the REN acting going on. There's got to be some acting now in each of these videos. Something theatrical.
me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8.
Okay, I like. I'm wondering. I actually already lost track. Was that Ren playing in the beginning? I missed it. Was it Ren or the other person? I already lost it. I'm gonna have to go back later, but you guys can let me know in the comments. Okay, so I wonder if this is gonna be about, you know, perhaps this child maybe having this greed that we've been hearing about in the first 2 parts, that greed instilled in him. I don't know, that's just the guess. That's the vibe I'm getting so far. Let's see what happens though.
Put the bunch, and when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son, money is the means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns...
Okay, there it is. Okay, that sounds like the main message. Also, I like how the father has a different voice, and it's not just a different voice. It's like this dark, scary voice. Take all that you can. Take all that you can. Uh-oh.
Man, this world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his dad...
Okay, I'm following the words here, but there are some things to talk about in terms of the music too. This progression. There are some specific things that makes it sound, there are some sort of classical, not cliches, but maybe you could use that word just without the negative connotation, just things that are typically you would see in classical music. So if we go... And then you would maybe hear... This type of progression. Now he cuts it a little shorter. But again, not something you'd maybe hear in a lot of pop music, but this is a common way to move by fourths. That's just moving up 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and using those chords. So that is, if you've heard that sort of thing, well, I have a feeling everyone listening to this right now has heard that sort of thing before, whether they knew how to identify it or not. But I had to make a note of that.
Daddy says you're 9, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race. You're just a servant to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval. Moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32 moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket.
Okay, so there's also it's we had that straight sort of arpeggio going again, more of this classical stuff, and then all of a sudden it started going. It's something like this. We talked about this chromatic stuff in part of the Tale of Jenny and Screech, but this is happening again, and it seems to be representing the chaotic nature of what's happening in this person's life at the moment. As it was going, this person had a lot of promise for their life, high IQ, you know, this nice upbringing. They were incredibly smart, talented, successful, and now there's drugs and nefarious behavior consuming his life. And so the music fits, the chaotic music fits this chaotic change in his life.
From the po-po inside of his pocket. "35, he gets the call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack. I'm sorry, he's gone." 36, getting pissed up, abusing his product. 37, eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38, with a prostitute, a moment of passion, heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39, getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, "I don't think you'll be walking again." Fuck.
Okay, I may be overanalyzing this because I overanalyze everything, but has he not been sitting in a chair in every video we've seen? I feel like people rarely sit in chairs in videos. He's always sitting. Someone is like sitting. It seems like maybe nothing, but I feel like I can't help but think about the fact that this keeps happening. I don't know what it could possibly mean or something, but he's sitting down for like a considerable amount of time in every video.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, "Mine, mine, gimme." 41, he wasn't walking. 42, not walking quickly. 43, never running round the pavements of his city. 44, inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble when perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him. And it's a version of she. And it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Call the music.
Okay. This message was, I think, well, it was clear from the first two parts, but I feel like even more so it was driven home by Money Game Part 2. Also, you can see this increased sadness and darkness of the story for Jimmy is being portrayed by this quartet. It's not quite a string quartet because there's two cellos. A string quartet is it's two violins, a viola, and a cello. But essentially it's we're getting that effect. So these slow, long, drawn-out string parts are giving this heavy, sort of melancholic, dramatic feel here.
Live is parasitic, fuck the money and fame. Cut the music. This isn't entertainment, this is real life. The way we live is lunacy, community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention, politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention, law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution? Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface then consumes till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise.
Okay, so this is another example of him doing this this pause from the music to, again, my guess has always been that it's to grab your attention the most. If there's no music, there's nothing else going on, just him speaking, the camera on him, you have no choice but to just listen to his words. And so this is like the main focal point of the song. He's back in the wheelchair. By the way, I know he's in the wheelchair because in the story the person's, Jimmy's paralyzed. So it's just that he finds his way to a chair every time. Okay, so he's loaded up a gun, not with all the bullets. Maybe that was just a matter of time. It wouldn't have lined up with the amount of words he wanted to say here, but I feel like I have an idea of like what I think is going to happen, but it just seems almost too dramatic. But maybe not. We'll see. We'll see.
"45. Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate. With a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father, it's such a damn shame. Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
Okay. I gotta be honest, that made me really anxious. I think that's the point, but wow. Okay, boy did that make me anxious. I know it's a video, but I can't help but see to watch rounds get loaded into a clip, loaded into a gun, have the gun pulled back, and then have a person's finger actually on the trigger and not just sort of next to it. But wow, okay, that was incredibly dramatic, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but. I guess the point like finally gets driven home of this person with all this sort of fortune in his life, and all this potential getting ruined by a horrible message that he can't get out of his head from a young age, and this message and the system that he's in driving him to, instead of living this life that, again, from the beginning looks like it's going to be just set up to be, I guess, the best life you could ask for, but rather it ends in complete tragedy, including him ending it himself. So, I feel like this was a pretty fitting end to this whole thing. It was cool because it was like a trilogy, but it wasn't like a sequential thing. But there was still a story being told in this one. There was a sequence to this one for sure, and an overall building message over the 3 parts. Now I don't know. You can let me know if this was it was going to be 3 parts from the beginning. I think if I remember people saying that it wasn't. It was just going to be Money Game, and that he ended up doing these next 2. I could be wrong. I could be wrong though. But this was a really cool way to do this, to have 3 separate songs with essentially one singular message, but played out in 3 different ways, 3 different styles of videos, 3 different ways to talk about the message, and 3 completely different musical styles. I think this might have been my favorite one so far. I really, really liked the piano part. I liked the vocals, and I really liked the quartet of the strings he used too. I think it worked really well. I was digging the harmony and just like the overall style. He still found a way. His voice, like the singing, was really lyrical, but he still found a way to make it like essentially like rapping. Still, there was still a lot of rhythmic drive in everything he was doing, and then he had that interlude, that sort of poetic recitation, that interlude with no music for that extra drama and to drive home the point. So thank you guys for recommending this one, because this one was super cool, and I'm glad I finally got to see the piano, because I was like, people had mentioned it, and I was like, what song is the piano going to come up in? You guys keep talking about him playing the piano, so it was here it was, Money Game Part 3. So okay, that was super cool, and now I'm actually inspired to play something on the piano based on this. Okay, so that was Money Game Part 3 by REN. I gotta say, that was definitely my favorite out of all 3 parts, and I think my favorite REN song that I've heard so far. I just couldn't, the piano part was just too cool, and I really liked the video too. So I mentioned in part of it that I was going to go back. I had to see if it was REN who was playing the piano in the beginning. I had to follow them because I wasn't really paying attention before, and it turns out, okay, it was REN in the very beginning who was playing the piano. And also something I noticed, because it happens right after, he's singing in the mirror, and he sings the Money Game theme. I can't believe I didn't pick up on it. But he's singing the Money Game theme. This is in a different key than the other 2. But he's singing the Money Game theme. So I thought that was cool that he put that in there. All right, so before we go, I just want to say thank you again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. And if you want to see more stuff like this, I stream on YouTube and on Twitch. You can just look at the name, look up my name, Rafi, on Twitch, and you'll find me there. And I react to stuff like this, and then I do improvisations based on it, on the piano or on the guitar. So again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next stream or video. Take care, everybody.